It's the 28th of July, 2026, and I feel like it's a little bit too late to record a summer reading list, but then I remember I have free will. So here is my summer list for 2026. Also, in my defense, I am going on my summer holiday in the end of September. So even though it will be that lovely autumn time, my brain will all be thinking Spain, beach, summer, and I do have 2 weeks there in the sun, hopefully, that I'll get to read some of these books. In this video, we have a list of books. We have 4 books I've been wanting to read for the longest time in the summer specifically, and I keep putting it off. So it is going to be my goal for 2026 to get these read. I also have 3 nonfiction books, which I think would be perfect for the summer. And then I have 2 wildcard books, which is one absolutely out of my comfort zone, and I don't know how I feel about it. And the second one I have read. I'm unlikely reading it again this summer, but I think it's absolutely worth the mention and the recommendation. So without further ado, let's get started. First book I absolutely want to read this summer is The Summer Book by Tove Jansson. This book follows a grandmother and her grandchild in this tiny island in the Gulf of Finland. It's a little slice of life piece. I actually started reading this a couple years ago and I never finished it because I wanted to read it in the summer. 2 summers went by and I didn't read it. I believe this book has beautiful nature descriptions and it's supposed to be the learning of what the grandmother learns of the grandchild and vice versa. I think it's going to be a perfect slow summer day kind of book. I was moving on to the next book and I completely forgot to mention, if you like the characters Moomin, which I absolutely adore, this is the same author, so I think that's a little fun fact to add into this book. The next book I am currently reading, and I'm absolutely adoring it. I'm talking about My Family and Other Animals by Gerard Doro. This is hilarious, especially for the summer. I'm particularly looking for funny books to read, and I haven't come across many. So if you have any recommendations, I would love to hear them. This is about a family who gets sick of the boring, dull English weather, and they decide to move to this island in Greece, and it's just all the adventures they have there. I don't know how else to describe this book apart from it's really funny. It's full of nature and animal descriptions, and you can feel the heat, the summer heat of Greece in this in the best possible way. Next 2 books on this list, they are both classics, and I really don't know much about them apart from my friends have been telling me I really need to read them, and I just kept putting them off. The first one is Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. I am sure I'm butchering that name. I am so sorry. I really don't know much about this book apart from obviously we follow Madame Bovary and that it's going to be cheeky, that she's very cheeky and mischievous, and I've been told I'm going to like that, so I thought this is a perfect summer read for those reasons. But I also think this could be a good autumn read, so I'm not too pushed to read this in the summer, but I would love to read this year. The last book on this list is another book that I don't know anything about, but I have been recommended countless times. I have seen references about this book and this author so many times in the internet and out in the wild, and I just feel like it's a perfect summer book. The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I think similar to Madame Bovary, I feel like it could be a good autumn book as well, maybe a transitional piece, like you're reading it at the end of September or something like that. But I really don't know anything about this book apart from I've been recommended this countless times and people have told me I will very much relate to the fig tree analogy. I know what it is about, the fig tree analogy, and I read a quote, not from the book, but I read a quote that I really loved that I wanted to just briefly share. Pick any fig, they all taste sweet. Thought that was really nice as someone who really struggle to make decisions sometimes. So yeah, that's a little side rant, but The Bell Jar is the next one I would love to read. The next category are the 3 nonfiction books I would love to read this summer. And I just wanted to preface this by saying I think nonfiction gets a bad rep. I really do. I think people tend to think it's boring or too intense or depressing, and I obviously haven't actually read these books, so I can't say for 100% sure. But to me anyways, they all seem like they're going to be either fun, interesting, not too dense, also a bit hopeful, which I think nonfiction books could use a little bit more of. And in the topic of hope, the first book on this list is I Eat the Stars by Sarah Wilson. This book explores a very rapid change in our current world, climate change, AI, you name it. We all know everything that's going on. I read a little bit of the introduction of this book in the bookstore, and the author says she doesn't have a conclusion. She's not promising a solution for it all, but just different ideas to explore this change and how to navigate our current times. I really love this idea because, especially with self-help books, which I don't think this is, but with self-help books, you see the marketing, right? Like, I have the solution. You're not sleeping. This is what you need to do. You're finding the world overwhelming. This is the solution. And I love that this is just humans coming together with different backgrounds, different ideas, and just providing their own unique thoughts. And you can figure out for yourself what you think of it all. I'm very passionate about critical thinking, and I think this book seems like a gentle, soft way to encourage us all to do just that. Just had to answer a phone call, so now I don't remember exactly where I was in this video, but let's do our best to just get going. Next book is something that it's not even that it's out of my comfort zone, but it's just completely out of my radar. I would not have seen this if it wasn't for this booktuber. Anna Wallace Johnson is one of my absolute favorite booktubers. I absolutely love her content. Highly recommend checking her out if you haven't heard of her before. One of her recent videos, she talks about this book, and it got me really intrigued to read Cod by Mark Kurlansky. This book, as the title suggests, is literally about the fish cod. So in Anna's video, she talks about how interesting it is to see a fish just having so much impact in history and humanity even. And I'm just absolutely very curious to read this one and figure out how much the cod has impacted our lives as human and nature as well. My last nonfiction book I wanted to recommend is a book that I literally found just yesterday, and I'm already loving it. A little side note here is that in the beginning of 2026, I set out this intention that I want to live more aligned with nature, and I want to learn more about each season and really live with the seasons throughout the year. I was there January 2026 looking at winter plants and winter foods and winter celebrations, all of that stuff. And of course, I was looking for a book to talk about the seasons. I found a few options, but there was nothing that was really ticking the box that I was looking for. And then just by chance yesterday, I came across The Wildlife Year by Sally Coulthard. And this is exactly what I was looking for. It's divided in all the seasons. It talks a little bit about each of the months in the season. It talks about the animals, the plants, the foods, harvesting, everything all Gucci in between, and it has gorgeous illustrations too. So this is everything I was looking for in the beginning of the year. So I actually started reading it yesterday in the summer month, and I would just hope to read this whole book throughout a whole year. So you probably only will see a review for this next summer. I'm really gushing about this book because it's just endearing and lovely, and I am researching about all these like different animals and plants that I didn't know was around during this time of the season or at all. For example, I love snakes. I think they're absolutely beautiful, beautiful creatures, and I didn't know about adders. I don't know if I'm pronouncing them right, but we have a little, I don't know if this would be good to show. We have a little illustration of them. I might put a picture over in the video so you can see it better. And I started looking them up, and I'm like, oh my god, these are beautiful snakes, and I didn't even know they existed, and they're around in the summer. I didn't even know the UK had snakes. So it's just been so yummy to read this up. And even though I haven't finished it yet, so far from the very little that I have, I would highly recommend it. Okay, this is the end of my list. We just have 2 books to go. One is my absolutely wild card, and then one is a recommendation for you guys. So my wild card book is a book that I picked up in a charity shop while I was doing my Ireland road trip this year. And the cover completely got my attention. I think it was giving a little bit of mermaid girlhood beach summer. The book I'm talking about is What I Was by Meg Rosoff. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And I would like we all to appreciate the cover. Do you see it? Do you see what I mean? I do think this is giving girlhood summer, and I love that. The reason why this is an absolute wild card for me is that I don't really read romance books, and this is essentially a romance. Now, with that being said, the romance seems to be a big plot of this book, but it also seems to deal with coming of age and growing up, and also the beach. I think I can get past behind the romance element if the other things are well worked on, and also it's not the main point of the purchase that I made, but I did see a map. So because the romance seems to be obviously a big part of the book, but not all the book is about, I think I could get behind it. I have to say, I have nothing against romance books or romance novels, whatever. I actually really love a good rom-com, but there is something about reading it in literature that I just get so incredibly bored, and it just never works for me. So this is a very big wild card for me. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it. I might not finish it, but I will give it a try. I need to keep an open mind, right? So maybe it'll be the first romance book that I actually enjoy. These here are all the books I would love to read this summer and haven't read, But my very last book is a book I've read and I'd like to recommend to you guys. I will say I think this book is perfect to read end of August or beginning of September. The book I'm talking about is A Devil Comes to Town by Paolo Marasing. So, imagine this. You live in this town full of writers. Every family are writing different books and they're sending it to be published. And nobody gets any luck. Nobody's being published. Then suddenly the devil comes in pretending to be a publisher. It is so fun. I do not see this book talked about at all, and it's one of my absolute favorite novels. I adore characters that represents the devil in the human form. I think it's really fun, intriguing. It makes you think a lot about the human condition in many ways. You have the main character who's observing all of this, and he seems to be the only person who realizes this is actually the devil. Nobody else seems to believe him. But then you're the reader, have this job to figure out, is this guy, the publisher, really the devil, or is the main character just going a little bit insane? The summer/beginning of autumn is like the best time to read it. That's all the books I have to talk about today. If you have any recommendations for me, please do, because I'm always looking for new books to read. And if you read any of these or have anything else to say, please let me know because I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Ciao!